Dane, Lindsay, thank you so much for the time. This film is such a joy. It is
Oh, thank you.
it is so much fun, just from top to bottom. Where did it come from?
hmm Dane is laughing at me because when we talk about this idea, it didn't come from like, oh, we know exactly the idea, the concept. It just came in layers.
Hmm.
And the very first sort of layer of that film was we knew we wanted to tell a story about two unlikely people that help each other get out of their dark place. It was kind of this idea of those people that come into our life and help us just get to a better place, and it's transformative. And we didn't really know how to put it together, though. We just had this feeling about it, which is not typical of how we like to work.
Yeah, yeah. But we just kept coming back to these characters, and we just liked that idea of like two people going through that were left by the same person and both like feeling that pain of losing, for Gage, it's his girlfriend, for Suze, it's her daughter
Yeah.
who went off to college, and they're both kind of like dependent on her, like she's their whole world, and just like how they both are in like a bit of a depression about that, and those unlikely people coming together and just like
hmm
helping each other through that. Just the idea of her getting stuck with her daughter's ex-boyfriend, who she doesn't like at all, just made us laugh.
Yeah.
Or like, let's just keep following
Keep
this.
following that ball. But to Dane's point, we eventually arrived at the equation of how to tell this feeling that we were experiencing. I guess Michaela's character came first. This
Mm.
idea of a 50-year-old woman going through menopause. We always knew that that was going to be the case, and she's hanging on so desperately to her daughter. How this ex-boyfriend came in, we'll never quite know. It's either we'll take it to the grave of who came up with it. But once we knew it was, somebody that's been monopolizing her daughter's time, and that Suze can't stand this kid, and thinks he's a loser and has all these sort of preconceived judgments about him, and then thinking about getting these two stuck together and yet finding such an experience through one another's help and love in a lot of ways, that's when it started to really come to life.
Yeah.
It is amazing to me. Just, I mean, the cast in this film is just incredible. They really are. I'm looking forward. I'm gonna talk to Charlie, but
Oh, good.
Oh,
um,
nice. Enjoy that.
Yeah, he's
I
fun.
He's a wild ride.
oh, I can't wait. He's
Yeah.
unhinged. Oh boy, now I'm even more excited about it.
Yeah,
But
He's super charming. You'll love him.
you'll love him.
but the relationship between Charlie and Michaela in this film is just incredible to watch. And the idea, I have to admit, when Charlie first came on the screen,
Yeah,
I said, like, I'm just like, oh, it's the deadbeat boyfriend trope.
Yeah.
totally.
But he's so much more. He is just he's such a great character. Just phenomenal performances by a whole cast, but especially the two of them.
Agreed. I mean,
Yeah,
we
we
have
got so lucky with them.
yeah,
Sorry, go on.
sorry. I was just gonna say we got so lucky with him, but we have a friend that said, this movie sort of lived and died on this character in a certain way, because if you got Gage wrong, the whole like Michaela could only carry Sue so far, but this kid couldn't be too, like you're saying, a deadbeat boyfriend. He had to be so much more. And how do you straddle that fine line between having this deep sort of pain and damage that you're carrying, but you're hiding it from the world. But as an audience, we can see that it's there. And I think that's what Charlie brought to that character, which was crucial, and we'll always be grateful that he was our Gage.
Yeah, and thankfully they both really got along in real life and had great chemistry and were really supportive and helpful of each other. So
Yeah.
we got lucky with those two.
Yeah.
And everybody.
And also you'll feel seen, because some of the comments in our initial test screening said that they couldn't stand Gage. They thought he was an idiot. But by the end, they really fell for this character and fell in love with him. And I was like, yes, that is what we call the story arc of the character.
I was
Success.
afraid they were saying that at the end of the screening. I'm like, how could they
Yeah.
not love
No.
this kid?
Yeah.
Thankfully.
You know what? You can tell, chemistry offset on screen, and
Mhm.
it's just amazing to watch them come together. And the script is so much fun. Um, this is very much a film. It seems to be dealing with change, struggling with change for both characters as well, and of course in different places in their lives, but certainly for Suze.
Yeah.
Why do you think that's such a struggle for us? Why is that? Why can that be so hard?
I mean, I think there's a little bit about both of us in these characters, and I think if I could personally respond to that, I think it's just hard to confront pain
Mhm.
at times, right? I think for Sue, she tried so desperately to back pocket the heartbreak she felt and the pain that caused her, and how she just then deflected it all onto her daughter. But and I think that's the beauty of Gage's character, is he forces her to confront. I think they're both having to confront pain in different ways. I think for Suze's character, it's to start to let go of it, and then she can start to have, you know, this life ahead of her. And I think for Gage's character, it's to confront that there is pain and he can't stop running away from it. And why, as humans, we have such a hard time letting go. Dane does more therapy than I do, so that's the answer rests on you.
The answer is fear.
Mm.
It's always just like, you know, we get so comfortable in the way that things are, whether they're good or bad, they're just known to us, right? And it's like, it's that unknown that I think or that I fear all the time.
Mhm.
And just that change. And, you know, it's like Suze doesn't want her daughter to leave, even though her daughter's not very nice to her.
Mhm.
You're like, it's not a great relationship. It's not a great place to be. She can be doing better, but it's what she knows and it's what she's clinging to. And just to let go of that is a big deal for her, because she thinks she's worried about being alone too, right? Is the other side of that, of we're afraid to be alone, and that's what she's hanging on to. But you know, she needs to know that everything's going to be all right, and that she can live on her own, and that she needs to, and that she'll be stronger for it. So I think it's always just pushing through that fear and anxiety for change is my personal experience with it.
Yeah.
You know, and one of the things about that, you talk about anxiety and fear. This is a film also deeply rooted in the conversation around mental health, which I think is beautiful. I think that's the way that it's handled in this is so lovingly done.
Okay.
And as the two of you were preparing the script and creating the film, I was just wondering what your thoughts were on that aspect of the film, and how have you seen that conversation change over the years?
Yeah. Well, I appreciate your words of saying that you thought it was handled delicately. That was so important to us.
We were afraid of it.
Yeah, we were afraid of
Yeah.
it. I mean, like so many of us, we've dealt with our own struggles with mental health. I did, you know, specifically as a teenager. So that was a little bit of me channeling some of that. But as we know, there's no one way to struggle with mental health. And so what we wanted to make sure is it just felt true to his character, and that our hope was someone would see some aspect of themselves, even if that journey looked very different for them. And yeah, I do think the conversation has changed. I can tell you by Q&As, it sometimes doesn't come up.
Mm.
So that I think by default probably tells me that maybe demographic wise, we're showing people that already have a pretty healthy relationship with talking about mental health, even though we know outside of that particular bubble, that's not the case. And we still need to. And in fact, I just read an article today in the New York Times that, you know, between the ages of 10 to 14 in the States, suicide is the second leading cause of death. And that is insane to me. So if this movie hopes a little bit of that conversation, that was the only thing we could have hoped for.
Yeah, it's like I think there's some growth, which is nice, because you know, like part of this was inspired by a friend's father who ended his life back in the early 2000s, I guess. And so like I feel like if he was alive now, the way that we talk about things, that might not be the answer, that there's more resources and people talk about it more. There's a little bit less stigma, but of course that's just in different places, right? And so it's like we've come a ways, but there's still always further to go.
Yeah.
It's sort of become a little bit more deconstructed to talk about it, which I think is so healthy. It's so healthy.
Totally.
Absolutely. And sometimes I don't want to put a gender narrative on this, but sometimes our young men have a hard time being able to share their feelings. And I think given that you know, this character with Gage, that was particularly the case, is that he wasn't coming from an environment that got to share emotions. And in fact, when he did, they were dismissed, you know, like the mom tells him that
Just big
it's just
feelings.
big feelings.
They're like, no, there's more going on. But we also wanted to make sure that we're not like, we didn't diagnose him
No,
in the movie as well, right? So it's like we just want to, I don't know exactly what his diagnosis is. I just know that he could use some people to talk to
some tools.
and some tools,
Mhm.
and Suze helps him get there. So
Yeah, I'll be honest. It's been a while since I've been a teenager. Let's put it that way.
Yeah,
Same.
Been a while, been a minute, quite more like an hour. But
Yeah.
but I really wish that I love what you're hearing here. Like as when I was a young man, we didn't know how. And I remember being that age and trying to want to, and nobody knew how to have those conversations with me, and I didn't know how.
Yeah.
And so it's refreshing to see that with you know, in this character, that these conversations starting to happen,
For
Mhm.
sure.
to give them an outlet.
Yeah.
Agreed. Yeah.
Similar to this, and I don't know if you can answer this, so forgive me, because this is, I don't know if this was a coincidence or not, but one of the things that I noticed in the film, in their home,
Mm.
above the door,
Yeah. Oh, that's
Yeah.
interesting. Yeah, keep going.
there's a sign, and it says, "Home is the place where your story begins."
Mm.
And I actually like wanted to, I made sure I read what that was, because what is it just a platitude? But it's a beautiful statement. And I
Yeah.
was wondering why that, whether, first of all, whether that was a coincidence, and second of all, if it wasn't, why you wanted that to be the mantra above the door.
Well, you go ahead.
It was there in the house that we
It was
rented.
just there.
It was
Yeah.
there.
It was perfect.
And yeah,
Yeah.
and we were like, yeah, that can stay, and it fit with Suze. You know, like we didn't want to overdo the
Interest.
yeah, the mantras around the house, the
But
like
have a little bit.
keep calm and carry on stuff.
Mhm.
But she still is somebody that would
She's a home sense mom,
Yeah,
to a degree,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
She wanted to make that a very cozy, charming, cool place in her her definition of cool anyway. So that sign was hilarious that it fit with the aesthetic.
Yeah.
Keep going.
That's it. So we just kept it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's so funny because it so perfectly fits the vibe of the film, I thought. And it's not like, you know, no offense to anybody, but it's not live, laugh, love. You know, it's
Totally.
Yes.
it's not a simple thing. Like it's a very specific one.
Yeah.
And this is a film about continuing your story or picking up your
Mhm.
story. So it just works so well.
Yeah.
Good eye.
Yeah, good eye. And also that's kind of my nose has been itchy this whole time. It keeps
It's
scratching.
quite all right.
That's maybe good luck in some
That's gotta be it.
terms. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's all really hope for Suze, right? At the end, there's some conversation when we were finishing the script. It's like, should we see Suze book a cruise or like do something substantial that lets us know that, you know, she's doing these crazy new things and has found herself and her new life. And really for us, what was important is that we just left feeling that she had a release and we were just on the precipice of her figuring out what's next for her, but we never needed to know.
Mhm. And like you say, her story continues.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
And the
knows.
same, sorry?
And only Suze knows what it is.
Yeah, absolutely. And the same goes for Gage. It's a different path, and he's much younger, obviously, but there's certainly this next chapter of a story that is very hopeful. I mean, without
Yeah.
saying too
Yeah.
much.
Hopefully that's what, you know, we love writing movies about that end with hope.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Too, as cheesy as we are, but
Mhm.
it's nice to leave the theater or movie with you
Some
know,
good feelings.
some good feelings, some hope for life.
Yeah.
Not that we don't like dark movies.
I was gonna say, not
Do not-
me.
Yeah.
I don't need hope at the end of a film. No.
Yeah. Don't put us in a box, except this one on Zoom. Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, I feel like Gage, I feel good about Gage. I feel good about both of them, as you know, there's gonna be bumps like everyone in life, but I do think that Gage figures it out, and that's all you can hope for with a character. He definitely doesn't end up back with Brooke, though. I can tell you that.
I hope not.
That was not a healthy relationship.
No.
No. You know, I know we're starting to run out of time, but I just, for you both, what do you hope audiences take away from their time with Suze?
I mean, I hope they're entertained, and I hope that they, yeah, again, just like feel that hope or feel that it's hard to play that like bigger figure, but it's like I want it to affect people, right? It's like you hope that it causes some sort of positive change. Like we heard like somebody the other day said they went and saw it at a screening, and after they watched it, they like called and like reconnected with a sibling that they hadn't talked to in a while. And it's like those are the tiny little changes that I love hearing about, that if it inspires somebody to reconnect with somebody or make a positive change in their life or just be entertained, that I'm happy with all of that stuff.
Yeah, and on that note too, just like thinking about who your Suze is, like you know, hoping that you've had one, and if you haven't, there's just moments I'm sure that you've shared with somebody that's left such an impact on your life. And so I think there's a reflective element that I would hope people feel when they think about that person that got them through a dark time, and maybe that's a chance to reconnect if they've parted ways. So,
and if not, we should start a dating app, just where people can meet their type of Suze, just like a maternal figure that's not blood related, that can just help them out of dark times.
So for 50-year-old women and 18-year-olds, that sounds like a different app.
That's a different type of app.
Yeah, we won't do it. We'll stay away from that one.
Walking backwards.
rewind.
Yeah.
No, honestly, and I love that question of who's your Suze. That's it's fun to say, but it's a great question.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I really appreciate that. Thank you so much for the time. It's such a lovely film.
Thank
you.
Appreciate it.
Great chat, great questions. Really appreciate it. Glad you enjoyed it too. It's a relief.
I really did. Have a great day.
And tell people about it. It's premiering February 23rd in Toronto. Exactly where, we don't know, but it's happening.
Yeah, it'll be a pop-up.
Go to every theater until you find it.
Yeah, there's no other way to find it.
Yeah, and support indie movies.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. Have a great day.
Thank you, Steve. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Like